Hello everybody. Today we are going to be doing a presentation on the basic terminologies for in-flight service management to let you know the vocabulary, also the functions for each one. If you guys are ready, let's get right into it. Alright guys, for the first part, I would like to introduce the words pilot, co-pilot, and PIC or co-pilot in command. And let's see what are the meanings of these words and what their functions are. A pilot is a skilled aviator who operates and navigates the aircraft. Pilots are responsible for the safe and efficient transportation of the passengers, cargo, or both. They undergo extensive training to acquire the necessary knowledge and skills, including flight controls, instrument reading, navigation, as well as the emergency procedures. And two pilots are required on that flight because the pilots must take turns or days the emergency case with that pilot. Symptoms that pilots are unable to continue flying, we call it pilot incapacitation, or shortly called INCAP. It could happen both physically and mentally, and pilot can fly alone only when there are no more than 9 passengers on board. A co-pilot, also known as the first officer, is a vital member of the flight crew in the aircraft, working alongside the captain to operate and manage the aircraft during the flights. So the role of the co-pilot is to assist the captain in the several tasks varies before, during, and after the flights to ensure the safe and efficient operations of the aircraft. Although there are 2 pilots, but the pilot who controls the aircraft commands, it's only one person, called pilot in command or PIC that we've heard before. As for who will perform any duties, depends on the agreement or depending on the situation as well. A cockpit procedures trainer or CPT is a type of flight simulator or training device used in aviation to help pilots learn and practice cockpit procedures in a realistic but controlled environment. It's designed to replicate the cockpit of a specific aircraft or a certain aircraft type, allowing pilots to familiarize themselves with a layout of controls, instruments, systems, and such.
Flight crew or cabin crew is a crew member responsible for the safety of passengers on the aircraft during operate. The composition of the flight crew depends on the type of aircraft, the flight duration, and purposes. Purser is a crew member who has more work experience than others by being selected by the airline as the team leader on that flight. Purser, that is the chief flight attendant. Each airline uses different words such as director, senior, or chief, depending on the airline, but is known as a purser. The notice is the difference in uniform, whether it's the design of the hat or the color of the dress. Purser will have one person is standard. Some airlines may have more number depending on the size of the aircraft. Sometimes this may be 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, or 4 people. It is possible. The flight that will have 4 people is the Airbus A380 plane itself has 2 decks. Purser's main duty is to make decisions because each flight has different challenges. The flight therefore seeks advice and the purser is responsible for that decision and will have to deal with complaints that occur on the flight and write reports for airlines. And another function is responsibility for all documents including international documents and documents required during the flight because they must represent the airline to sign the document. As a flight attendant, we live according to our flight schedule or roster that is issued month to month. In approximately the near time, the end of the month is around the end of 20 days. The stewardess will need to receive next month roster to know where we'll be flying next month. When receiving a roster in some month, we may see the word standby, which means waiting to be called to fly in the event of the sudden lack of crew. But whether or not you will be called and have to wait and see for yourself on standby day. In roster, standby start time and standby end time are specific. There are two types of standby: home standby and airport standby. Home standby means staying at home and getting dressed and ready to fly. When you receive a call to take an urgent flight, you can go out and fly immediately. As for airport standby, it means going to sit and wait standby at the crew center or technical building by wearing a uniform and prepare to pack your bags as if you were going to fly normally. If there is a sudden absence of crew member, you can just carry your bag and go on the flight immediately. What stewardess should do when the word standby is on the flight schedule is whether it is home standby or airport standby, they must be prepared. Do not drink any kind of alcohol for 12 hours before standby time. Wear a uniform, do your makeup, hair, wait for the phone call, and be ready to fly at all times. If the flight schedule specific that you must stand by from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., that is, you have to wait to be called at the time specified in the flight schedule. But if the designated time has passed and there is no phone call, it is considered that the standby duty is over. Used to refer to the one of the flight attendant work situation, people who work in this state will have two looks, that is, they will have to dress in normal uniform, and after getting on the plane, it will change to the second look, which is to wear business attire clothes to sit as a passenger. Deadhead crew get on the flight as usual like a normal passenger, such as eating, sleeping, watching TV, but there is a prohibition: do not drink alcohol because the deadhead is considered an on-duty crew. When reaching the destination, it will change to a uniform again, accompanied by an operating crew, and most deadheads are seated in business class. There are many reasons, such as the cabin crew that stay aboard are sick. The airline need to require a deadhead to fly from the origin to destination, where the crew got sick and let deadhead bring that flight back. Or the airline at flight resulting in the need for more crew, therefore it was necessary to send a crew to do that flight.
ABP stands for able-bodied passenger. These people are potential candidates for helping cabin crew in an emergency situation, such as evacuation on land or water, or a pre-planned emergency landing. Aircraft passengers who are traveling alone or as couples, have no children or other relatives, traveling with them fit and healthy, speaks the language used by the flight attendants. They are used in any emergency situation where there is enough time available for flight attendants to brief them on the operation of emergency exits, life raft, and what will be expected of them after a crash. They are primarily expected to assist passengers off the bottom of the escape slides, or assist in the launching of life raft, and carry out flight attendant emergency responsibilities, but are also given enough information to act in the event a flight attendant is incapacitated. Standby passengers are a subset of non-revenue passengers. They are individuals who don't have a confirmed reservation for a specific flight, but instead show up at the airport hoping to secure a seat on a flight that has available space.
Non-revenue, short for non-revenue travel, is a perk used by thousands of airline employees all around the world. It's also called flying space available, or SA, because space has to be available on the airplane for us to get a seat. But in all cases, as employees, we're not providing the airline very much revenue in exchange for a seat, hence the name non-revenue travel. This is a perk I've used hundreds of times over the past few years, flying on my own airline and dozens of other carriers cost-free, or sometimes for a huge discount, even in first or business class. Here's how it works. There are three basic types of non-rev travel: pass riders flying on their own airline, Zed fares used for traveling on other airlines, and jump seating crew members. I'll cover them all. But first, I want to show you a map of where these perks have taken me. Excluding Antarctica, I've non-revved on hundreds of flights, touching every continent. I try pretty hard to find open business class seats on longer flights, and have had the chance to cross the oceans dozens of times while being able to lie flat and get comfortable rest. While I don't have an exact figure, based on a couple hundred flights, I'd estimate that flight privileges have given me at least $100,000 of travel value so far. Being an airline employee has made the world a lot smaller for me, putting otherwise unaffordable trips within reach. Flying standby on your own airline is generally the most common type of non-rev travel for a few reasons. It's usually the lowest cost while also putting you towards the top of the standby list, ahead of employees from other airlines. And you don't have to be a flight crew like me to enjoy these perks. Airline employees from all over the airlines share the ability to travel the world, and you don't have to do it alone. Your travel companions can be a partner, dependents, parents, or sometimes even a registered friend. Flying standby can range from free to a few $100s. It depends on your airline, where you're flying, the class of travel, taxes at your departure and destination airport, or how much the Zed fare is.
Intoxicated refers to the condition of having physical or mental control markedly diminished by the effects of alcohol or drugs.
The passenger or the customer from drinking. After that, if they continue or if they've managed to find a loophole, we would probably assess them and suggest drinking water or going to their seats and having coffee and having a sleep. But if they become quite aggressive, we have different threat levels that we can adhere to. And I think if they get to level 3, which normally involves any physical contact with another passenger or crew, as in punching, kicking, then we would have what we would call a passenger restraint situation, where we would go in guns blazing and make sure the passenger is restrained in a seat. We have body buckles, and we do get restraint training as well, which does help. So we've got some ninja moves that we can pull out on our passengers.
An unruly passenger is someone who, by action or stated intent, jeopardizes or might jeopardize the safety of the aircraft, persons or property therein, or accepted level of good, order and discipline on board. And to help airlines more easily identify the problems, International Air Transport Association or IATA has developed and promulgated a non-exhaustive list of examples what is considered unruly or disruptive behavior list on board an aircraft, which consists of these things: illegal consumption of narcotics, verbal confrontation with crew members or other passengers on board, physical confrontation with crew members as well as others, making threats of any kind towards the crew or the passengers on the aircraft, sexual abuse or sexual harassment and such.